Okay, so step one was to cut out the base of the crosscut sled. For this project, I'm using pure bond birch plywood from Home Depot. It's 3/4 of an inch thick. Standard 4x8 sheet is what I got. So I cut the sled bottom out with my Delta table saw. It is 30 inches wide by 27 inches deep. Next, I cut the strips of plywood for the front and rear fence. I'm using 2 layers of 3/4 inch plywood for the fences, and they're 30 inches wide, and they are approximately 5 inches deep. After cutting the fence boards out, I laminated them together with Titebond 2 wood glue. I just spread the glue out and clamped up the fences until the glue dried, and I didn't see a need to follow that up with any screws. They're just glued together. Here I'm cutting out the runners out of solid wood oak. I had some leftover trim oak that I've used on various projects. I believe these are 3/4 inches wide to match my miter slot, and I believe the depth of them is 3/8 inches. In this step, I'm attaching the oak runners to the bottom of the sled. I used pennies to lift the runners up such that they are higher than the surface of the table saw. After that, I ran a little bit of wood glue down the runners, and then I just placed the miter sled surface on top and used some weights to ensure that it was firmly in place. Next, I permanently attached the runners to the bottom of the miter sled. I used pilot holes and countersink bit for the holes, and I used very small wood screws to attach the runners to the bottom of the sled. You got to be very careful you don't split the wood. The oak will split very easily if you don't use good pilot holes. After the fences were glued up, I trued them up on the table saw to get rid of all the squeeze out and ensure that they were level and plumb. Then I took them over to my belt sander and I rounded over the edges. The belt sander made quick work of this, and I rounded them over just to make it a little bit more comfortable to use the sled. Next, I just used my sheet sander to clean up some of the edge work and some of the surfaces of the front and rear fences. Only spent about a minute or two with the sander. Next, I attached the rear fence to the sled. This attachment is not critical, so I just lined it up edge to edge. I drilled pilot holes, used a little bit of wood glue, and some wood screws to firmly attach the rear. Okay, so I got my sled built. Now it's time. I've just got the back fence temporarily mounted. Now it's time to square up the fence to the blade. I'm going to use the 5-cut method. There's lots of videos online and website articles and that kind of thing. I didn't invent this, but it is quite popular to use the 5-cut method to square this up. So I'm going to make the cuts, and then we'll come back to you and do all the math, and then I'll show you how I adjust the fence. But until then, let's go ahead and make the 5 cuts. Okay, so I've got my test strip here after 5 cuts. I'm measuring it with calipers. And the first measurement, 1150. 1150. That's A. Make sure I don't get this turned around. And B is 1218. 1218. That's B. That's the back. So I'll look up the 5-cut method. You subtract B from A. So let's do that. So it'll be 1.150 minus 1.218 equals, it's a negative number, negative 0.068. Okay. Alright, next we divide by 4 because we did 4 angles. And then divide by the length of the cut. So divide by 4 equals negative 0.017. So that's 17 thousandths. And then length of cut was about 16.5 inches. .5 divided by 16.5. That's 0.001 1/1000ths per inch. Negative 1/1000ths per inch. So let's make sure I did that right. Because that's scary good. Okay, so take the result and multiply it by the length of basically the attachment of the fence. So I need to measure from the pivot screw, which is over here, down here where I would measure it, which would be about 28 inches. So that's 28. It's the pivot. So we're going to multiply 1/1000ths times 28, which I can, it's actually a minus 0.001. So we'll go through the steps, but we know what that is, right? So a negative number also means that the fence is too far back on this side over here. It would have to go forward. Alright, so let's do that math. 0.001 negative 0.001 negative 0.001, negative 0.001, sorry about that, times 28 inches. So obviously we all know what that is. It's 28 thousandths. 0.028 is our error from here to here. So where I measure it and fix it, I've got to fix 28 thousandths. So let me go grab a couple of tools and get a couple of pieces of equipment, and then I'll come back to you and we'll make the adjustment. Okay, so what I've got, I got to move 28 thousandths forward on this side of the fence. And what I've got is a feeler gauge set from an auto parts store. I don't remember exactly where I bought it, but I'll link one in the description. I've got a piece of wood. In this case, it's just a little piece of 2x4. And what we're going to do here is about 28 inches, which is where the measurement was done at. We're going to put the feeler gauge in here, and we're going to clamp this 2x4 right there, which means I got 28 thousandth gap between the 2x4 and the fence. We're going to remove our screw. We're going to move our fence up, which I could feel. Close the gap. And we're going to clamp it back down. And we're going to drill a new hole. You can't use the same hole. If you use the same hole, it's going to center itself back where it was. So we'll drill a new hole and put a new screw in. Using a standard drill bit and a countersink. All right, new screw. Should be up against the 2x4. Which we are, and we're ready to do the 5-cut method again. So here's our piece. That was back. And we're going to measure 902. That's what it looks like to me. And it looks like 901. 0.901. Okay. I'll measure the back side, and we are. Wouldn't have thought we'd been off that much. 8. $8.77. 0.877. All right, 0.901 minus 0.877 equals 0.024 divided by 4, 0.006 divided by 16.5. It's 0.00036. That's less than a thousandth per inch. And we are good. So doing the math, the top end after the 5-cut method was 0.901, the bottom was 0.877, so the difference was 24 thousandths, 0.024. You divide that by 4 because it's 4 angles, and we got 0.006. You divide that by the length of the cut, which my length of cut was 16.5 inches, and we are off or to get the error per inch, and my error per inch is 0.0003, which is less than half of a thousandth. So instructions are, if you're less than a thousandth per inch, then that's crazy good. So as you can see, if I cut a panel 16 or 20 inches or so, I'm going to be about 8 to 6 or 7 thousandths off. That is totally doable at less than a half of a thousandths per inch. I'm calling this crazy good and done. So now what I'll do is I'll attach the back of the sled down with a bunch more screws and declare victory on the crosscut sled. So I wanted to thank everybody for watching the video. I appreciate it, and if you liked it, give it a thumbs up, hit that like button, share it with your friends, and if you're not already subscribed, please subscribe, as it helps the channel out. And we've got more projects on the way, so thanks.